What happens when a cocky cop pulls over the wrong man? It was just after noon on a hot summer day in Dallas, Texas. The sun bounced off the glassy office buildings and rows of parked cars, casting a blinding glow across the busy streets. In the flow of traffic, one car stood out, a sleek, jet-black Mercedes-Benz gliding effortlessly down the avenue. A few blocks away, Officer Bradley Kane sat in his patrol car, sipping coffee and scanning the road. When the luxury car came into view, he sat up straighter. Behind the wheel was a black man, dressed sharp in a perfectly tailored suit. "Looks out of place," Kane muttered under his breath. No hesitation. He flicked on the sirens and pulled into traffic. The man behind the wheel didn't flinch. He calmly pulled over, parked, and rolled down his window. His face unreadable. License and registration already in hand. Kane approached like he owned the street, sunglasses on, hand hovering near his holster. "Afternoon," he said, curt and cold. "You know why I pulled you over?" The man met his gaze, calm and steady. "No, officer. But I'm sure you'll tell me." Kane ignored the papers and glanced around the pristine interior. "This your vehicle?" "Yes," the man replied, unfazed, offering his documents again. But Kane didn't take them right away. He peeked into the back seat, like he was searching for trouble. Pedestrians began to slow. The air got heavier. But the man behind the wheel stayed calm, like he'd been here before. Finally, Kane snatched the papers from his hand, barely looking at them. "Where you headed?" "Just a meeting. Downtown." Kane raised an eyebrow. "A meeting that needs a car like this?" The man's voice stayed level. "A professional one. Is there a problem?" Kane's tone sharpened. "Nice vehicle. Expensive. You must be doing pretty well for yourself." "I work hard," the man said simply. No anger. Just quiet confidence. By now, a small crowd was forming. People on lunch break pausing to watch. Kane handed back the papers. "Step out of the car for me." The man hesitated just a second. Then he got out, calm, composed, polished shoes clicking against the pavement. Kane circled the car slowly, eyeing it like stolen art. "Mind telling me how you can afford something like this?" he said loudly, making sure the growing crowd could hear. The man's jaw tightened, just barely. "Is there a law against success?" Kane turned to face him. "Didn't say that. Just doing my job. By profiling people." His voice was still calm, but now there was steel underneath. A woman began recording. A man leaned on his bike, watching. "Watch your tone," Kane warned. But the confidence was cracking. "Pop the trunk," he ordered. The man didn't flinch. "Do you have a warrant?" The tension spiked. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kane's hand hovered over his radio. "Don't play games with me. Open it, or I'll call backup." "I'm not refusing," the man said. "I just want to know why." "You look nervous," Kane snapped. "Like you've got something to hide." The man chuckled softly. "Nervous? No. Disappointed, maybe." Kane pulled out his handcuffs. "Turn around." Hands on the car. The man paused, then slowly complied. But just as Kane stepped forward. "Officer," the man said, steady and firm, "I'd like to show you something." Kane hesitated. "In my wallet," he continued. "My ID." Kane narrowed his eyes but nodded. The man reached into his pocket carefully, pulled out a sleek leather wallet, and opened it. Inside, a badge. The sunlight hit it just right. It gleamed. The lettering was clear, Internal Affairs Division. Chief Investigator. Kane froze. He stammered. "That's right," the man said. "I investigate officers like you." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kane stepped back, the color draining from his face. I didn't realize. You didn't realize, the man repeated. Or you didn't care. Kane opened his mouth. Nothing came out. If I weren't who I am, the man said, if I didn't have this badge, how far would you have taken this today? I was just doing my job, Kane mumbled. Your job, the man's voice cut through the noise. Your job is to serve and protect. So tell me, who were you protecting today? The crowd grew louder. A voice shouted, answer him. Kane looked down at the pavement, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Every day, the man continued, people like me get pulled over for nothing. Not because we broke a law. Because we don't look like we belong. You know how exhausting that is. Kane's hand dropped from his belt. I could make one call, the man said. You'd be under investigation before your shift ends. But I'm not doing that. Not yet. He let the silence sink in. You don't owe me an apology, he said. You owe one to every person you've ever stopped unfairly. Think about that. Kane stood frozen, guilt and confusion written all over his face. The man turned to the crowd. I hope you're recording this. This is what accountability looks like. Phones stayed up. Cameras still rolling. Kane had lost control, not just of the situation, but of the story. As the man walked back to his car, his composure never broke. But in his eyes, you could see something deeper, a drive to make sure this moment wouldn't be forgotten. He paused at the door and turned back one last time. Officer, he said, you have a choice. You can reflect, grow, or let this moment define you forever. Kane nodded faintly. No words. Just a man, caught in the aftermath of his own actions. The Mercedes pulled away, its black frame disappearing into the flow of traffic. Kane remained on the sidewalk, his badge suddenly heavier than it had ever been. And maybe, for the first time, he understood why.